15-year-old Sebastian Rogers has been missing in Sumner County for 3 days now, and we have been following that story very closely. The TBI upgraded his case to an Amber Alert last night, meaning agents think he is in imminent danger.
So far today, authorities have put out a call for more police-mounted patrols as possible, and Hendersonville police and Wilson County Sheriff's Office have responded to that call, bringing in extra horses and people for that. And also out in the field here today have been drones, helicopters, and all-terrain vehicles. Sebastian Rogers is 15 years old with autism. He was last seen at his home on Stafford Court around midnight Sunday, wearing a black sweatshirt and sweatpants, possibly barefoot. Two of the many concerns officials are facing now is Sebastian has been off of his medication since going missing, and the temperatures are expected to continue to drop below freezing as the night goes on. I will say I've spoken to a couple residents out here who really just want to help in this search. Officials say if you do want to help, search your property and your home surveillance video for any sighting of Sebastian. You can also donate packaged snacks and beverages to emergency crews working around the clock to locate Sebastian. There will be a community prayer vigil held at Northfield Church in Gallatin at 6.
It has been 453 days since now 16-year-old Sebastian Rogers vanished from his home in Hendersonville. His disappearance sparked national headlines, but now his father says the case is losing momentum. With National Missing Children's Day coming up on Sunday, he is raising his voice and demanding urgency.
My son's been missing for 15 months, and they don't care.
Well, good morning, my beautiful people here on the Tiki Talk. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime, and we're covering several different cases, but today and now we're covering the case of Sebastian Waindrake Rogers. Now, there's been a lot of things going on in this case. Good morning, everyone coming in. Happy Thursday. We're almost to TGIF. Good morning. Oh, my goodness. Oh, I see Donna in here. Good morning, Donna. It's nice to see you. Lucy, Angie, Cleo, it's nice to see you. Good morning. Good morning. So, this information that I read, it was just a screenshot, but it made me very, very concerned. So, hey, me and you, it's nice to see you. If you guys don't know about this case with Sebastian Waindrake Rogers, Sebastian Waindrake Rogers disappeared or was reported missing on February 26, 2024. He's been missing well over a year, but the details of his disappearance are suspicious to say the least. According to his mother, they had a pretty busy day on Sunday, and they came home and were getting ready for bed. And around 9 o'clock, he went to bed. Mom calls stepdad. They have a significant time that they're on the phone for. And then around midnight, allegedly, he tells Katie, the mother, to go to bed. And she disconnects the phone, goes to bed. She wakes up around 6 a.m. and her son is gone. She immediately calls her husband, which was 3.5 hours away, and tells him that her son's missing. And they check here, check there, and immediately report the call to law enforcement on a non-emergency dispatch line. Well, we're going to be fast forwarding to today because throughout this entire process, there's been a lot of inconsistent statements from the mom and the stepdad. The mom was the last one to see this child alive. The mom was the last one to be with this child prior to the child's disappearance. There's just a whole host of issues with this case. But there was a lot of resources that law enforcement used when the call came in. And there's been additional resources offered to Sumner County Sheriff's Department to help and aid federal governmental type of resources, not private resources. And we're learning that it's possible that they turn those resources down. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, This case hasn't been solved. They're nowhere closer to finding Sebastian, and a huge federal agency offers to help and they turn it down, potentially. So, if many of you guys don't know, there were some other issues up front. And those were, this is what we dubbed the green shirt interview. This interview happened on March 4th, 2024, some 8 days after the child, Sebastian Rogers, disappeared from his home. And people believe that along his arms, right here and right here, had some deep abrasions, and what people appeared were bite marks on his arms. And when confronted by people early on in the investigation, Chris states that it's their dogs, these Yorkies, that had just gotten their nails clipped as the reason for these markings on his arm. Now, there's another oddity. If you guys have been following this case for any significant time, there are a few details that you may know. One is there were lights on the side of the house that people dub as the flashlight video, which was released by a local news reporter by the name of Nick Barris with Channel 5 News. And it appeared that there was 2 sets of flashlights coming through the common area to this unidentified car. Well, there's a content creator by the name of Gray Hughes. I'm not a fan of him. He's not a fan of me. However, he got into a conversation with Chris early on in this case, and Chris identified the path of travel for these dogs that left his house. And so while he was on the phone with Gray Hughes, he gives him this, and of course, Gray's the one that's putting in these lines, but it's being assessed with the information from Chris's own statements. So what they find is that that up here there is some type of track that goes around, according to Chris, around here. And then the tracks come from here, and the dogs follow them all the way over to the construction site, which is more in that direction. Well, this path of travel here just happens to resemble that flashlight video that we saw from the Nick Barris release, the news release. But when you look on this side of the house, this is what I dub the secret door, because that right there is a very large crawl space. Now, my question is does this crawl space attach to the interior of the home? And is it possible that this was the way that they were able to come and go from the house, without being picked up on the cameras that are peering in from the backyard or from the front yard? We don't know. And then there was this right here. Early on in the investigation, step-grandparents, Chris and Katie's mom and stepfather, took off to go to Alaska, and there's a few people that have always questioned that. And this says the Bowersox drove RV owned by company he works for to Washington State a few days after Sebastian disappeared, and then they flew to Alaska and back to Washington, finally driving the RV back to Tennessee. So I don't know what that has to do with the case of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, but that happened early on in the case. And it's very, very, very concerning because, we have a missing child and close family members take off out of state shortly after his disappearance. And they weren't the only ones that took off shortly after the disappearance. Chris and Katie also never attended. This is the only vigil that they showed up to. And it was to speak to Seth. And then after they left this vigil, they were seen in a motorcycle shop shopping for a motorcycle. At the time, their son was having a vigil put together by his dad, Seth Rogers. This is it. This was the only appearance at any vigil That's Chris and Katie. And Katie didn't even get out of the vehicle. Only Chris did. And then they go over to a motorcycle shop. I want you to think about that. Your child is missing. Your child is missing. You haven't seen your child for a significant amount of time. The father has a prayer vigil so everybody can come together and pray that your son comes home and comes home safely. Not only do you not attend any prayer vigil, the only one you do show up to is to demand things from Seth and then to take off to go motorcycle shopping. Why did they need to go motorcycle shopping? Did you guys know that Chris and Katie also left to go to a motorcycle rally while people were searching for Sebastian? And what about that time at the Texas Roadhouse? Did you observe the video inside this establishment? Katie kind of tosses this menu to her son. He has his hands in his pocket when he gets out of their vehicle, which was parked over here. He gets out of his vehicle with his ears, his fingers over his ears. He walks into the restaurant. They sit down. She tosses a menu at him. She doesn't really have any conversation, except it looked like whatever conversation they did have, they didn't like it because Katie's kind of, doing this with her phone and Sebastian's over there shaking his head like this. So we don't know what that conversation was, but I find it odd because this photo right here was taken on Saturday, the 24th of February. Okay? And she took this photo. One thing I learned is that she didn't really have a whole lot of photos of Sebastian, not in the house, around the house, or anything. The little bit of photos that you've seen in the video from Chronicles of Olivia, as well as the photos that you saw in the America's Most Wanted Missing Persons segment, those were about all the photos that they have of Sebastian Rogers. She didn't really take a whole lot of photos of him because he didn't photo well, according to what she's told other people. And so my question is do we find it odd that she took a picture of him on Saturday as well as Sunday when they were here? Because in the interior footage that was released by At Night Private Intelligence Agency, it shows that she was sneaking photos of him while they were sitting there and having dinner. And this is a person that didn't really take a whole lot of photos of her son. And I didn't think about it at the time, but hindsight's 2020. And I thought, you know what, for a woman that didn't take a lot of photos of her son, sure was, flashing that camera quite a lot this weekend that she was out and about with Sebastian by herself. I just thought that was pretty interesting. Camper truck, I'm sure she was too. It was depressing. Only one flyer in there. Whole neighbor. I know. And I went and posted flyers. And they tried to say that was some type of, now mind you, I've never been charged with harassment or anything else, but they like to fragrantly throw that around for posting a flyer of their son in their neighborhood because their neighborhood had none. No flyers. There was one lone sign in the entire neighborhood where this poor boy disappeared from. That's not just a statement for, Chris and Katie. That's a statement for that whole community. Because I can guarantee you, if my neighbor's child was missing, our entire neighborhood would look like a child's missing. And I wouldn't feel like my life is being taken from me because people need to find a child, And some of the statements makes me very concerned about some of the people that live in this community with this child because they care more about just having their normal life than they care about finding a child. We've heard that over and over again. It's not me saying it. We've listened to it ourselves, So there is that. And then I also we're going to get into the topic of conversation. I don't know if you guys noticed, but most recently, Seth had a interview with WKRN, and he was in front of Sumner County and had some choice words. But WKRN really stripped his entire interview down. But the good thing was Seth Rogers actually recorded the entire interview. He had somebody there with him to record the entire interview, and he put it up on his show or his channel on YouTube. The problem is the audio was really, really horrible, and we couldn't hardly hear what he was saying. We could hear bits and pieces of it, especially if we turned it up real loud, but couldn't really hear it. So I actually took some time. It took me a couple days, but I was able to clean up the audio the best I can clean it up. And I put this entire interview out. I don't know if the full 13 minutes was able to upload here on TikTok, but if you see this thumbnail or you want to hear the entire interview, Seth really did let Sumner County Sheriff's Department have it. And if you guys want to hear it and it cuts it off, I didn't check if it's the full 13 minutes, but if it cuts off, you guys can hit it up on the YouTube channel. Just look for this thumbnail here and you'll be able to hear it. It is probably the best cleaned up version that I've been able to do in any audio recording. It took a little bit of time, but we do have it. So if you guys would like to hear that, please go back and check it. But the crux of this show here today is this right here. This right here. If you were here with me from the beginning and you're still here with me now, one of the things that I said is that this case he was not found, and you would think that after a year, after all this time, not producing anything in the case of Sebastian Rogers, any type of resource that you can get that comes from the federal government, you would think that they would want to utilize anything and everything to get the job done, to bring this child home, to close this case, and to seek justice. But I'm learning that might not be the case. According to this post right here, it says, did Craddock turn away help from the U.S. Marshals? More and more people are asking if the good sheriff is investigating or participating. Pretty strong statement. But at the beginning of this case, we knew, or we learned, that Chris and Katie had a lot of ties to the sheriff's department, to the police department, to some people working in Homeland Security, Secret Service, other alphabet soups of the federal government. And at the beginning of this case, it worried a lot of us. And we demanded Sumner County tell us whether anybody associated with Chris or Katie's family was working in their department or working on this case. They refused to answer, only stating that the sheriff is not friends with Chris or Katie. That was to the extent of the response that was provided. And then we hear this, that there's a possibility that they turned down help from the U.S. Marshals. This child has been missing for over 15 months. And we're hearing that there's a possibility, since the beginning of this case, that Chris and Katie have ties with law enforcement in that area. And then we hear that that area's sheriff turns down help. Potentially. I doubt that we're going to hear one way or another from the sheriff. The sheriff has tucked his tail between his legs and has ran and hid under a rock when it comes to this case. I have no idea what the community sees in the sheriff that they elected. I digress. Betty, did you see the video? KP and CP mouth words in court with your guys' court hearing? No, I didn't. What did it say? Send that to me. Send that to me. Bullhornbetty@gmail.com. a link or whatever you're talking about. I'd like to see that. Did they thoroughly search that property? Jamie, it sounds like they did thoroughly search the property. I don't know anybody that would, do what I think happened and keep the person there. I mean, there are some that, we've heard about it, but those are mostly people that didn't report them missing. I don't believe he would be on their specific property, but I do believe he's near one of their family's properties. Potentially. How are they not protesting at his office? Oh, well, we were doing a gathering of voices, and the sheriff's office and the Proudfoots conspired together to have me arrested to try to shut down our protest. Now, we went ahead with the protest, the gathering of voices, but because people thought I was going to cancel it because of the situation at hand, which they were very much mistaken. When we schedule something, come rain, shine, arrest, or earthquake, or apocalypse, it still goes on, okay? I just want to let everybody know, if this ever happens again, we still go on. We still go on. Nothing stops us. When we put our mind to it, we do not stop. We show up, and we suit up and show up. I believe she took him out. No could see her leave out garbage if he's laying in the back seat. Possibly. I don't think he was in the car that morning. I think whatever she met Cathy up at the Worshams for was to either take something back to the house that needed to be there or remove something out of the house that didn't need to be there. We ride at dawn. That's it. That's it. Rain or shine, apocalypse, earthquake, the world ends. If you can breathe, we show up, okay? If you can breathe and walk, that's it, okay? You don't even have to be able to speak. You can mumble. We'll take mumblers. The show goes on. So this is the important stuff. Can you imagine having a missing child? A missing child for 15 months. And then you find out it's possible that a rinky-dink backwoods sheriff, Mr. Snuggle Struggles, is turning down one of the lead investigative bodies in the United States, the U.S. Marshals. I would be furious. Furious. I wouldn't even be able to begin to tell you how the anger I would be. But, and I didn't get a picture of it, but I will post it on my YouTube. Seth somebody is pushing again another change.org petition to have this pulled from Sumner County. And let me tell you, I had to do the same thing. They were trying to railroad Bullhorn Betty. And we suited up and we showed up and we took the one completely out of Sumner County. It's going to an appeals court. The other one, by the grace of God, the grand jury took care of for me, right? So I don't even have to push that up, but we were prepared to take that out of Sumner County. So in my opinion, if you want to get this case done, if you want it investigated properly and justice served, it's got to come out of Sumner County. I'm sorry, I don't like the place. I never met a place so corrupt in my life. But they are corrupt, and I don't know who's doing who, what, who knows who. All I know is it ain't right up there. It stinks to high heaven. Their detectives don't mind lying on affidavits. I've got a whole host of problems with Sumner County. So we need to get Sebastian's case away from them. And if they are refusing U.S. Marshals help, that should make a whole lot of people in that community very, very angry, because a lot of people in that community are dealing with a whole lot of shit from this case. And if they can get this case solved and are literally lollygagging and pussyfooting around with a case of a 15-year-old boy, keeping that community in turmoil, that entire community should be angry with the sheriff. They should be calling his office and begging them to take the U.S. Marshal's help, because the sooner this case is closed, the sooner their lives can truly start going back to normal and the families can start getting closure. Who would like anybody turning down help in their missing child's case? Raise your hand if you'd like to hear this kind of statement if it was your child. This is very upsetting, and very much breaking news, in my opinion. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We got the heart button here. You guys can subscribe to the channel and help me on a monthly basis if you guys like the work that we do here on the Bullhorn Betty channels. Get over to my YouTube channel. Check out my playlist for Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Beautiful crime stories. Obsessed. Well, hello, doll. I hope you are doing well. And if you guys haven't hit up Crime Stories Obsessed, get over to her channel. Hit her up. She is a wonderful content creator in the true crime genre. Not only that, but she's also a hero. She is a first responder over in the UK. So if you like supporting great work and great people, Crime Stories Obsessed is definitely your chick. All right, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe. But more importantly, cry. You popped up. I was going to say crime stories and kind to one another. All right, guys, have a great day. We'll be back for TGIF.